What if the line between science and spirituality isn't just blurry, what if it isn't there at all? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical idea that reimagines the divine not as a matter of faith, but as a fundamental law of physics and information. It all boils down to this one really mind-bending sentence. Right off the bat, this idea reframes God not as some being up in the clouds, but as an organizing principle that's woven into the very fabric of the universe, an architect of order, working within the laws of physics, not outside them.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. What on earth does that even mean? It sounds super dense for sure. But to really unpack it, we first need to get a handle on the one concept that makes this whole thing tick, something called entropy. And to really get this, we have to be specific. The entire framework hinges on understanding that there are two very different kinds of disorder, or messiness. One comes from the world of physics, and the other one, well, it comes from the world of information.
So first up is the kind of entropy you probably ran into in a high school physics class. It's the one that describes how everything in the universe, over time, tends to get, well, messier. Think about it like this: your bedroom. When it's perfectly tidy, there are only a few ways for everything to be in its right place. But a messy room? Oh man, there are millions of possible ways for all that stuff to be scattered around. That messy room has way higher Boltzmann entropy. The formula is on the screen, but the core idea is simple. It's just a measure of physical chaos. Now, Shannon entropy is a different beast entirely. This is about information. Imagine a message that's just the letter A repeated 1,000 times. That has super low Shannon entropy because there's zero surprise. You know exactly what's coming next. But a completely random string of letters, that has incredibly high Shannon entropy because it's totally unpredictable. Again, don't worry about the math, just the concept. It's a measure of informational randomness.
So here's the absolute crucial point. One describes physical messiness, the other describes informational randomness. And what's wild is that they are deeply mathematically linked. They're like two sides of the same coin, both describing disorder, just in different realms, the physical world and the world of information.
Okay, so now that we've got our two kinds of entropy, here's where it gets really cool. The theory suggests that this universal organizing force uses one kind of entropy to fight the other. It's kind of like a cosmic balancing act.
And you know what? Life itself is the perfect example of this in action. Living things are these incredible little entropy machines. We take in ordered, low-entropy energy, like sunlight for a plant, and we use it to build these unbelievably complex, information-rich structures like DNA. That DNA has very, very low Shannon entropy. But there's a cost. To pay for all that beautiful order, we have to export physical disorder, high Boltzmann entropy, back out into the universe, usually as heat and waste. Now, let's zoom out, like way, way out. To the scale of the entire cosmos, we see the same story playing out. The universe somehow started in this surprisingly orderly state. As it expanded, gravity started pulling stuff together, creating these little pockets of intense organization, galaxies, stars, planets. These are all systems with low physical disorder. And as they formed, the universe's information content actually grew, reducing that informational randomness. All this incredible structure building happens even while the universe as a whole is slowly marching towards its ultimate fate of total disorder, the heat death.
So this isn't just about stars and cells. This is where it gets personal. This framework actually stretches all the way into our own minds and makes us ask some of the biggest questions there are. What does all this mean for us?
Well, there are theories out there, like AIT, that suggest consciousness itself is a form of incredibly sophisticated entropy management. Think about it. Your brain is getting hit with this chaotic flood of sensory data all the time. It filters out the noise, integrates the important signals, and creates a single, coherent experience of the world. It's the ultimate act of creating informational order out of potential chaos.
Now, here's where this perspective really flips the script on some classic theological ideas. Creation isn't some event that happened once and was done. No, it's an ongoing process of organization. Divine guidance isn't about breaking the laws of physics, it's about subtly biasing probabilities within them. And the existence of suffering, the problem of evil, it gets reframed as the unavoidable cost, the waste heat, if you will, of creating a universe that's even capable of order, life, and meaning in the first place.
But, okay, before we get carried away, it is so important to hit the brakes here and be clear. This is a speculative, philosophical idea, not settled science. There's no way to actually test for this organizing force in a lab. Plus, science has other pretty compelling explanations, like the multiverse theory, which suggests our universe just happens to be one where the conditions for life are right by pure chance. And maybe most importantly, Framing immense suffering as just the necessary cost of order, well, for a lot of people, that can feel like a really unsatisfying, even cold answer.
So the ultimate point here isn't about proving anything. It's about a shift in perspective. It offers a new language to talk about the universe's incredible, relentless drive toward complexity, but in purely physical terms. It moves the whole conversation away from an external supernatural being and towards an internal natural principle of organization. And that shift in thinking is pretty profound all by itself.
And that leaves us with this final, fascinating thought to chew on. If there's any truth to this framework, it suggests that the very act of creating order, of reducing uncertainty, of making meaning, whether you're a scientist figuring out a new law, an artist creating a masterpiece, or just a person building a life, it means you are directly participating in the most fundamental, creative process of the cosmos itself.